Hello there, and welcome to the Podawakens, a Star Wars fan podcast. My name is Jordan. With me today is Ron. How are you today, Ron?
I'm good, man. I'm doing awesome. We just wrapped up a super fun chat about some X-Men stuff, and no rest for the weary. We are right here talking some Star Wars, and I am ready.
Yeah, our rest was last week when we
Mm,
were not recording.
yes,
So this is now it's go time. It's go time,
I
and
could do
this
this
week
all
is
day. Sorry.
this week is really go time because I'm recording a couple podcasts on Friday for our special series we're going to be dropping um, next month. It's going to drop sometime in April. But since it's related to this, I'll just get it out of the way now. It is the High Republic Road to the Acolyte, which we're going to talk phase one of the High Republic books, comics. I got guests lined up. People saw that I put out the call, and I thought, I'll do an episode for phase one, and that's it. And then way more people were interested in getting on here than I'd thought. So now I have like an episode for each book. So I'm recording some of those this Friday, since I'm off work, and I'm like, all right, this is the perfect time to like buckle down and get some of these recorded, and it's gonna be good. We're gonna talk each book of the phase one. Then I have somebody that's gonna come on and talk the comics. We're gonna try to release as many as we can before Acolyte. Um, so this month of April is just gonna be me recording like so many of these and getting them out there. I listened to 3 audiobooks on my vacation. Like I was rocking and rolling. So I'm excited. It's mainly going to be for people that had read or listened to the books. But if you don't want to read or listen to the books, or you don't mind spoilers, listen along with us. We're going to try to set the stage on what the High Republic era is, how it's going to relate to the Acolyte, which takes place in that era. So that's my goal on it. I kind of did something similar for Book of Boba Fett. I did a series called Road to the Book of Boba Fett,
Mm.
and we watched Attack of the Clones, then had a discussion about it. Then we did the Clone Wars episodes with Boba Fett. Then we did Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and the Mandalorian episodes with Boba Fett. And it was like this way of seeing his character progression as we were going, and while we can't do that really for the Acolyte, I'm thinking let's set up the series, like let's set up the era, because it is going to be a new, fresh era for a lot of people, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, myself included, man. You sold me. I'm going to be there. I've been kind of unafraid to talk about when we've been on this show that I'm not so steeped in the Legends lore, and that I've always just been more of a sort of on-screen zip zappy lightsaber kind of Star Wars fan, the one that half of the internet hates these days. So that's the kind of Star Wars fan I am. So to be able to have this opportunity to get sort of like a mini crunch, study session in on this time period that we're going to be entering, that looks super interesting based on everything we've seen so far in this trailer that we're going to be talking about today. That's going to be really dope, and I'm going to be checking it out, and I definitely recommend everybody else as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was recently adding a lot of our old episodes from 2019 when we launched. And
Oh,
by the way, if people want to go back and watch those, they're now available on YouTube. They're like pre-video. It's just like the still image and me talking with Logan and my friend Matt. But my audio was really bad. Warning.
okay.
My mic had an issue with its cord, and I did not know that. I could not fix. I did not know how to fix it. I had to buy a whole new cord for the microphone at one point, and it was brutal. But in those original episodes, we talked about the future of Star Wars and what I wanted. And what I wanted was a whole new era. Go thousands of years in the past, thousands of years in the future, whatever. Now, the High Republic is only like 150 in the past from Phantom Menace, but it was something that I was like, give me, like, yeah, if you go back far enough and all we really have is like Yoda and Yaddle, like, great. Like, show me other characters in that time that we know the Sith weren't really visible, because it's going to give us new villains and stuff like that. Then, like, right after that, 2020, I think it was probably like a few episodes later, they had announced the High Republic. And I was telling my friend Logan, like, this is what I wanted. Like, this is exactly what I want. Just a whole new era, new villains, new heroes. Give me that. Jedi in their prime. I know episode 1 is a big you're a big fan of that. So am I. I love seeing Jedi at their peak, and I feel like we really only get that in Phantom Menace, because at a certain point when you get an Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, it's so much about how Palpatine has stacked everything in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 1, they're so unassuming, they don't know about the Sith yet, that it is like seeing that world. And there's a new book coming out that I have pre-ordered that I'm really excited for, because it takes place in like the pre Phantom Menace era, and I'm just like, I think it's called The Living Force. That's the
Yes,
kind
the
of
one you
stuff
sent. Yes, yes.
for.
Oh man, the most appealing sounding Star Wars book that I ever heard. Just
Yes.
based off of that one little blurb you sent, I was like, oh yeah, cozy up with some hot chocolate and read some Star Wars. Well, I'm doing right now, except I'm talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, so like that's an era I really like. So the fact that the High Republic, that I dive into it when it first comes out, and it took a little bit to stick. The first book took me a little bit to like get into, right? But once I did, and especially once I started listening to the audiobooks, because Mark Thompson is a legend. He has so many great voices. They have the Star Wars music playing, they have sound effects going. It got me like I was talking to you offline about it before, of just like it made me really excited to go on my walks, right? To
Mhm.
go out there and start getting healthy again. Um, but like that was something that helps. It's like, oh, I'm not just going out to walk and stare at nature, which is fine at times, but it's like I'm walking, I'm playing Pokemon Go, and I am also, experiencing Star Wars on my walk. And it made me be like, oh, I got to get that next chapter in. And it made me, one thing I really like about it is a lot of the new canon when Disney took over was like flooding us with between episodes 3 and 4.
Yep.
It's just something that animation, video games, books were like boom, 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 boom. Comics were like, here's between 3 and 4, here's between 4 and 5, and that's what we were getting. But it would jump around on who they're following all the time. Oh, here's a Luke book, here's a Han book, here's a Leia book. With the High Republic, if people don't know what that is, it is a very, they have youth books, like middle grade books, right? They have young adult books, and they have comics and adult novels. But they're all telling the same story with different characters focus. And some characters might appear in this book and then they appear in another book. And it is something that makes it feel like you're almost like listening or reading a TV show, because
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, here's this thing going on. And that's what I wanted, is some sort of through line between the books I'm reading. Because while there's like my favorite Star Wars book right now, Shadow of the Sith, it takes place but after 6 and before 7, but it ties in a lot with Rise of Skywalker and stuff like that. But there's no like sequel to that. So the fact that the High Republic is like a series where I'm like getting to check in with these characters every so often, it feels very rewarding when I'm doing it. So I'm really excited that I found a lot of High Republic fans that like messaged in, and thank you all to who did. And we're going to try to get as many of you on the show as possible.
Building your own little Jedi Order over there yourself.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll dive into the trailer now and all that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to preface that, because I think it's get it at the top of the show here before people turn off anyway. When you do the plugs at the end, sometimes people are like, it's over.
Yeah, they're like, all right, show's over. Yeah.
And one of those characters from those books makes an appearance in this trailer. So I will highlight that when we get there.
That was what I was going to ask you about. Don't mind me, everybody,
Yeah.
by the way. I have a horrible cold right now, so I'm kind of fighting through for you
Sorry.
guys. But that was kind of one that I wanted to talk with you about. If you wanted to kind of go freeform with this and just kind of riff.
Yeah.
So you're referring to Vernestra Rowe, I'm assuming. Yes.
Yeah, Vernestra Rowe.
Mm-hmm.
Who I was not as familiar with, because she didn't make that many appearances in the adult books. So the way that I read the Phase 1 was I read the 3 adult books, and then recently kind of start diving into the young adult and the middle grade stuff. So her first appearance is really in a middle grade book called Test of Courage, which is actually one of the ones I'm recording about on Friday. So I got to know her character from that, and then she makes an appearance in a book called Out of the Shadows, which is a young adult book. And then she's like made some appearances. She is the Padawan of Stellan Gios, who is one of my favorite High Republic Jedi. Stellan and Bel Zettifar are my two boys from the High Republic. This is his apprentice. One thing that's very interesting about Vernestra, I don't know how much of a role she'll play in this, but she is a Marillion. They do age differently than humans, because I think this takes place about 100 years before Phantom Menace. So she's going to be in like her 60s, 70s at this point.
Okay.
She was, I don't know if you know this, Ron, she made history. She was one of the youngest Jedi to become a Jedi Knight. She passed her trials at age 15 to become a full-fledged Jedi Knight. Nice. She took her first Padawan at age 17.
Wow. Yeah. Maybe Anakin was right to be slighted. What the hell, man?
They
used to give 17-year-olds Padawans. He was like 20-something, and they wouldn't even let him. Come on.
Yeah, you know what? They probably let her on the council at 19 or something. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't gotten to that part.
Anakin just pulling up the receipts. Just, you let this person do this at... No.
I'm the chosen one. She's not. But yeah, I mean... So that is something that is very interesting. In the book, she has hair, so this is a new look for her, being bald. But yeah, very interesting to see where we go with Vernestra. You might see people make jokes about it. Yes, you may see people make jokes about it, but some people call her Vern, and she does not like that. She doesn't like that nickname. So if you see people making jokes about calling her Vern, that is why. But yeah, she made a modification to her lightsaber after becoming a Jedi Knight, which makes it it can shift between regular lightsaber and whip lightsaber.
Which is awesome.
It's interesting. I wonder if we'll see it. You know, Leslie Headland did reference the whip lightsaber, so I do think we might see it. But yeah, just a great character. A lot of fans really like her. I'm starting to really dig her from what I have been reading of her, but really excited to see that they actually brought in somebody from the books into this.
Well, I think that's a testament, and you mentioned her already too, Leslie Headland. It was kind of funny when the trailer first dropped and there was all the review bombing and all that stuff and people questioning her credentials. Then she drops a few quotes in an article the next day, and it's like, oh no, she's actually more of a fan of this stuff than you and me and,
right.
and everybody else. So yeah, I think all of that sort of EU stuff that I'm pretty unfamiliar with, but that she clearly is not unfamiliar with, I think we're going to get all of that kind of goodness that all of you sort of Legends fans will really enjoy.
Yeah. I know some people were trying to say like, a yellow lightsaber that's not a Jedi Temple Guard. I'm like, they don't all have to be Temple Guards, all right?
No.
It's too restricting. Let people have different colors.
Yeah, dude, we had in Ahsoka, we had the orange sabers. We got Sabine wasn't even a Jedi for the most part. She's wielding one. Like we don't, as much as you got to respect sort of some of the classic stuff. You don't have to just make up these concrete, strict laws that in your head you think are true just because you've never seen anything different. Like, just because the only thing we had seen before Rey was the Jedi temples using the yellow lightsabers, that doesn't mean that only they can use. Like, unless I could be wrong, was it ever clearly stated somewhere along the way in a movie or a piece of Legends lore where it said only Jedi Temple guards can use yellow sabers?
Maybe in Legends, but when Disney took over, I don't think they ever reestablished that. And I think it became a thing of maybe it was in Legends before, but also the fact that like the like in Rebels, we see the Temple Guards and they have yellow, and it's just something that like, oh, so they're continuing that, and people just kind of run with that. But
and again, we already saw that go out the window 4 years ago, 5 years ago, between 4 and 5 years ago, with the
Yeah.
end of Rise of Skywalker. So like moot
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
dunzo. Like find something else to complain about.
Or don't. Please don't keep finding stuff to
Actually,
complain
please don't. Yeah,
about.
don't. Or go find another show to complain about. Like you want to go complain about like Teletubbies or something? Go nuts, man. Just get away from
I'm
my
sure
damn.
they will.
I'm sure they would too. Yeah. They totally changed the designs from the original series. It's just insane. The purple one's violet now. Like, what are we doing? Oh, so there is.
We
Oh,
have. Yeah, go
oh
ahead.
so I was another thing I was going to bring up about a lot of the complaints that people had was in terms of the whole the throwaway line from the Phantom Menace about the Sith have been gone for a millennia, and how everyone acted like because of that means they're retconning all of the Phantom Menace. Um, so correct me if I'm wrong here. Where was in comparison to the Phantom Menace? Where was Darth Plagueis in that story? Not in that story, comparatively in terms of time. How long before that?
I think, from what I've recall from my studies and from what other people are mentioning,
Studies into the
yeah, is that Plagueis would be maybe like maybe the apprentice at this time,
Okay. But
or maybe not even at that point.
so then does that not blow up that whole sentiment of the Sith have been gone for they clearly haven't. Like
Well,
Plague
yeah, they haven't been gone for the 1,000 years. What they did, they went and became a rule of two and did it in hiding, right?
Mhm.
Like they were in hiding, going underground almost. Of
Yeah.
like, we don't know. And actually, this is just an inconsistency, I think, with the Yoda at the end of Phantom Menace says always two, a master and apprentice. But then kind of like the writers had to be like, oh, well, if they were gone for 1,000 years, actually they went rule of two, and then now they pop up. And now it makes it seem like Yoda knows about their rule of two, but I guess the rule of two had to predate them
Mhm.
going underground at some point. But look, here's the main thing. We don't know she's a Sith. Um, Two, yes, Kiadi Mundi thought all the Sith were gone. The Jedi thought all the Sith were gone, and they were wrong. And that was kind of the whole point of Phantom Menace.
Exactly.
Now, if you're saying, oh, they see the Sith, so they must die, I understand that more than
Mhm.
just being upset that there is a Sith. But I don't know if she's a Sith. The name is the Acolyte. And we've heard of Sith acolytes before. They were in Rise of Skywalker
Mhm.
at Exegol.
Yep.
An acolyte doesn't mean that they're actually a Sith, right? Like they are. If you look up the term of acolyte, it's about being like
Like
it's more with
devout.
religious. Yeah, they're like devout, uh, almost like I would say they're followers of the
Yeah.
Sith.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I would put that in. Um, so to me, the title's not Sith Lord, so I think we're fine. I think we're fine with that. And also, she could be one of, maybe she's Plagueis's master. Who knows, right?
Mhm.
Maybe she's apprentice before Palpatine, and she dies, and all the people she fought dies, and or they somehow think, oh, it was just a rogue Jedi. It wasn't actually a Sith. Like,
Mhm.
there's ways that they can get around this. Um,
It could
and
do
I'm all for that.
it could be a cover up. So our buddy who we just had on a couple episodes ago, Ryan Airy, put out a video breaking down this trailer. I think it was either him or New Rockstars, but they sort of shed light on the conversation during that the Sith have been gone for a millennia, and Mace Windu and Yoda's interactions during that scene. If you go back and watch that, holy crap, it looks very much like they knew like all of this, and it was like they were kind of like giving each other the look of like, okay, don't say anything, like, and that's like crazy. It of course was not planned that way at the time, I would assume, but if
It
they
might be,
were.
though. That might make sense because, like I said, Yoda and Mace talk together
Mhm,
at the funeral of Qui-Gon,
mhm,
and they know about the rule of two.
yeah,
So it could be that they did know, and they're like, "Hey, you know what that means? There's another one."
Mhm.
right? And we got to find this other one now. And that those two knew because they're the senior most.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Ki-Adi-Mundi's probably older than Mace, but I mean, like Mace was in a position of power, and so was Yoda. They were the head two Jedi, pretty much, and they might be sharing. It's the way that like maybe that's classified for the other Jedi Masters,
Mhm.
right? Like we don't know.
How, dude? What kind of like cracks would that put in the sort of Jedi foundation if that had come out, like that the Jedi were covering up this secret like underground existence of the Sith, and in their sort of brazenness, they were like, ah, they got the rule in not so in lesser terms, just being like, they got the rule of two now, we can deal with them, they're no problem, but we are going to cover up their existence to kind of to keep the sort of united front in the perception that like the Jedi have won and they have triumphed over the Sith, because it was it was it Attack of the Clones, or was it the third one where they're talking about if they should like reveal something to the council, and Yoda's like, no, I forget the exact
Mm.
circumstances, but there was a moment where Mace and Yoda are talking, and they were like, should we tell the Senate? And he's like, no, because like it would essentially, it would yeah, there's my Yoda impression for you. It would essentially no, that's him in Empire climbing down and stealing Luke's food.
Yeah.
um, where was I going with that? Shoot. But okay, so yeah, there was at some point in there where basically, long story short, Yoda agree or tells Mace Windu that they have to cover something up in order to kind of keep the status quo and not have everything fall to shit, for lack of a better term. What's to say that that's not the exact same circumstances?
No, yeah, I think the thing is there's so many outs they have with this that I feel like the people that are complaining about it are not thinking about those outs. I'd rather them find outs like this for them to tell a great story than
Mm-hmm.
just be like, "Well, we can't touch the Sith." Like I'd rather be able to get some of these peak Jedi facing off against somebody who can like have a red lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fun. You know, I think George kind of, at that point he's only thinking about his prequels and his originals. He's like, yeah, Sith were gone for 1,000 years, so that way he could explain why the Jedi were so lackadaisical and why they fell, why they were fooled by Palpatine. They were
Mm-hmm.
arrogant.
Yeah.
And I think being able to find holes in the story to be able to, whatever they do, whether it's she's not a Sith, whether it's uh, Yoda and Mace know that the Sith weren't actually defeated, and we're keeping it classified the way that people think the government keeps aliens classified so we don't freak out, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's ways that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then another whole being that they are a Sith and that they will kill everybody they run in contact with, and nobody will know that they were killed by a Sith. And there's outs that they have along the path here that I think is great because I just want them to tell fun stories and great stories. And if they got one with this, which it looks like they do, I'm excited for it.
You saying you just want to walk away saying I had fun? This stuff's supposed to be fun.
Yes, exactly.
Shout out,
Um,
Chris.
yeah, so that's my thoughts on the Sith part, the controversy that people are bringing up. And I'm hoping with discussing it now, when we talk about the show proper, we're not diving in with talking about that every week.
No.
You know, unrelated, but I was talking about, on my soccer podcast, talking about the Greg Berhalter, Gio Reyna stuff.
Mm.
And I said, after they hugged it out after
Oh,
his exit in the other game, I was like, this is it.
yep.
I'm not talking about it anymore.
It's
They
done.
moved
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
We move on. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're not bringing this up every time he's called into the national team.
No.
And that's how I feel with this. We're done with it. And
Mm-hmm.
until they tell us for sure what's going on, I'm not going to put much thought into that because there's so many outs that they have to get around it, and I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to what we were talking before about like Leslie Headland and how much she actually cares about this stuff. If randos on the internet can point to this and be like, huh, that's a potential plot hole, Do you think she doesn't have that covered, and that it's something that they explain probably pretty early on? I would imagine. Um, I have zero like trepidation or worry in that regard.
Yeah.
That it's going to be something that's just this looming. How is this possible all season? No way.
Yeah. We're gonna have a Wookiee Jedi
Yes. Yes.
played by the guy who plays Chewbacca. So like he's back in Star Wars. Eunice, he's back in. He's doing his thing as a Wookiee. I am a little upset that it is not a very famous Wookiee Jedi from the High Republic, because they can live a long time. Buriaga, but this is Kel Neka. Kel Naka is what this Jedi is. Kel Naka. He looks good though.
Any relation to Gungi or Gungi? I always fuck it up. The one that
I
was
don't
in
think
Clone
so.
Wars? No.
I don't think so, because Jedi can't have attachments, man.
Oh yeah, true. Doy.
So you got to cut that out.
Mm.
We have Jecki, which is this
My girl.
yeah, X23 here on the right.
Daphne.
And we have Yord, who is next to Jecki here. He's got the yellow lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the Miles Morales hair from Spider-Man 2, which is upsetting people online for some reason.
I don't know. It looks awesome. But...
it does. It looks great. We have Master Soul talking to these young Jedi Padawans in the or younglings, I guess at this point, in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. One thing I'm really excited about seeing is Coruscant. By the way, it's one of my favorite planets. I was thinking, it'd be a fun draft. Star Wars planets.
Yeah, that would be a cool one.
Yeah, I get first pick Coruscant. Boom,
right.
Done.
I'm taking I'm taking Dathomir in the first round. So
yes, but I mean, I just love. It seemed like they were staying away from it for so long because of the prequel stuff, and they're like, we kind of got a tease of it in Obi-Wan when we get the flashback of Obi-Wan and Anakin. And then we've seen it in animation, of course, but going there with and we saw a little bit of it in Mando.
I was gonna say, yeah, in Mando season, in the last season of Mando, didn't we spend some time on there?
Yeah,
with the stuff with
the cloner.
With yes,
yeah,
with cloning.
And it was
I was trying to think of the actor's name. That was why I was like, Katie O'Brien is who I'm thinking of.
Yes, a little bit of Andor as well takes place on Coruscant, but seeing the temple again and just seeing like the background of Coruscant, I'm really excited about that specifically. Coruscant's one of my favorites.
And it feels a little different too. They've got kind of like the lighter, like peacetime robes on. It doesn't feel like so just cut and paste, like, just different characters just in a different, let me think how to put it. Like, it doesn't feel like it's just a retread of, like, if it were to be Qui-Gon training the younglings in episode 1, just pulling like a random hypothetical out of the air. It feels like a little different, a little more, I guess, regal, kind of royal, prestigious. Like, it feels like it's more like grandiose. I don't know. And maybe that's just me kind of pulling stuff from my mind, but the combination of the suits and the music that plays in the beginning, that's sort of like, I guess, angelic choir-esque like sort of thing. It makes it feel like it's, again, like the word that I keep coming back to is like royal, regal, like prestige. That's another one, like very prestigious, but not in the same way that episode 1 feels. And I'm trying to think of like what exactly I would say feels different, because on the surface, you look at it and you would think, oh, okay, it's just a Jedi master talking to the younglings. How many times have we seen that? But it just, maybe it's because in my head I know it's a different time frame and it's these different characters, but it feels a lot different. And I know I'm kind of rambling. I'm saying a lot of words to say a little. But it's just, that's kind of like, I don't feel like it's the cookie cutter retread that some people are saying it is.
Thank you for rambling, by the way, because it gave me time to find this picture I want to. So the High Republic, this was their robes in the books and comics, right? Gold accents,
Mm-hmm.
lots of gold. This is kind of what they're going with, right? Is gold, as you see Vernestra wearing the gold a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, mustard, right? We kind of see it with them a bit.
Yep.
But it does feel like a little bit of a, what I like is it feels a little like in between. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's like, this is supposed to be the end of the High Republic era. So you have like, okay, this is where we were before all the bad stuff of the High Republic started going on. Boom. Then you have, now we're kind of more, you start seeing more of the white, the gray. You start seeing some gold still, but it's like a kind of like a perfect middle for how we see from High Republic, because it makes you wonder. Oh, we're wearing gold and stuff. Yoda's still part of the Order.
Mm-hmm.
Yaddle's still part of the Order. What makes them be like, no more gold? It seems like maybe it's a little bit of a soft
Slow transition.
transition
Yeah.
into the Episode 1 look of the
Mm-hmm.
Jedi, and I like that.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. And we even, again, to kind of support that, at least the way that I kind of viewed it, I see the lighter robes as more of a like a peacetime thing. It's like everything's good, everything's copacetic. We are the top of the food chain, so to speak. And then we get, when we see like Jecki and all the characters that you just rambled off in the cave, they've got these darker kind of colors on, as they're being attacked by what we presume is a Sith or the Acolyte, or who knows, with that red lightsaber that we see kind of buzzing through at the end. So by then you would imagine that that shit has kind of hit the fan already, and like a decent amount of Jedi have probably been killed and they're investigating. So to see that sort of the palette change in colors of the outfits get darker as the story gets darker as well, I think is a really cool like kind of visual sort of working in tandem thing with the story.
Yeah, it looks like they still have gold, but like it's more like a mustard almost.
Yeah.
So I think that is like this is not like straight up gold like this is, right?
No.
So I do think that is a very interesting transition. All right, I'm going to read some of the character profiles because
Mhm.
Yord is a Jedi Knight and also a guardian of the Jedi Temple. Ooh, he has a yellow lightsaber. Who would have thought? But this is from the official Star Wars.com data bank. So he is a guardian of the Jedi Temple, so people can maybe not flip out about that now. Um, he's an overachiever and a rule follower, and his need to be a by the book Jedi can cloud his mind.
Mm. So he sounds like the wet blanket of the group. The one who everyone's like, "Oh, let's go explore that cave." And he's like, "Now, guys, let's think
He's
about."
me if I was a Jedi, right? I will relate to Jord a lot, not just because of his
I was
name.
gonna say
Jord,
name.
it's
Yeah.
very close to Jordan. But yeah, I think he is somebody I will relate to because I am the rule follower.
That's amazing.
Jecki is a Padawan apprentice to Master Soul. Although she is young, she projects calm and conducts herself with maturity.
Hmm. Well, that's definitely none of us.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to see it, man. You know me. I am very very fond of Daphne Keen's playing X-23 and how she was able to kill it in a role with saying like 4 words. So to be able to see her kind of show off some of her range in this show, and to be able to sort of expand on what I already do like about her in terms of like the way she can tell a lot with a little. I'm curious and excited to see her sort of get to do a little more, I guess.
Master Indara is um uh what's her name? Carrie Ann
Carrie
Moss.
Ann Moss, yes.
Master Indara is a
Almost a
Jedi
Carrie Ann Moss.
master of great physical and mental skill. So,
And we see her in the trailer kind of throwing down at one point too, in a little like hand to
yes.
hand combat sort of thing, which was really cool. I know a lot of people weren't so fond of the choreography in Ahsoka, specifically like at the end, a lot of the lightsaber stuff. But everything that I've seen in terms of choreography in this trailer has been A+ to me.
Yeah, I agree. Master Soul is a wise and highly respected, powerful Jedi Master, strong in the ways of the Force, who is going through an emotional conflict.
Mm-hmm.
This is Master Soul.
There's
I
one
wonder what.
shot of him at some point in the trailer where he's like looking, and he's got like this really distraught look on his face.
Yeah.
So kind of supporting that notion of the Jedi ignorance, arrogance, whatever you might want to call it. I'm gonna guess this is the first time that he's like either seeing that the Sith aren't gone, or maybe finding one of the other murdered Jedi, something like that. Um, but right from the rip, when I watched this trailer, without even knowing any of the characters' names or anything like that, I highlighted Saul in my head. I was like, there's more there. I don't know what it is.
I thought you were gonna say you were like, he's dead.
No, he's done. Probably is, to be honest with you, by the time it's all said and done. But it definitely felt from the little bit we saw in the trailer like there's something more there, and I can't put my finger on what, and it pisses me off because I don't want to sound like I'm just copping out. But it seems like not everything is as it seems with him.
And then we have May.
Yeah.
May gets
Awesome.
swept up into a sinister mystery, one that puts her in the center of a conflict in unexpected ways.
Love the outfit too. It almost feels like a cross between Jedi and Sith. It's like that very dark brown kind of esque color with it, and it has the semblance of a Jedi robe, but it's also dark and dirty and grimy, and like interested to see where they go with her and what her whole spiel is.
Yeah, because this is her here again, right? Or we think
gives
might
like
be her.
Gives like samurai, like Japanese kind of vibes almost.
Yeah, yeah. They had a lot of mix of that with this, which I guess is why they also got Carrie-Anne Moss because of the Matrix.
Yep.
She seemed to know what she's doing. Let's see. We have a smuggler. I don't have his picture here, but it's Keemer, who is making his living as a trader, procuring unusual things, and enjoying a life of leisure.
Hey, you want to buy something from me?
Played by this is played by the guy who's in The Good Place. What's his name?
Got me. Have not watched.
Good Place. I searched Good Place. It's like good places to eat.
I was just gonna.
Manny Jacinto.
Okay.
Manny Jacinto plays him. He played Jason Mendoza on The Good Place.
Okay.
Very different role for him. He was like the dumb airhead of the group in The Good Place, and in this he's going to be like a smuggler who makes his living as a former smuggler, now makes his living as a trader.
Oh.
And we have Mother Anastasia, who is a leader of a coven of witches who value their independence and preservation for their beliefs and powers.
So, like, is that going to be the Night Sisters?
No, they're not Night Sisters. It doesn't look like they're Night Sisters. Okay. So I think this might be a like a new set of witches on a different planet.
Well, I like that because if they're going to be like you don't know of anything. Is there any legends?
There she is.
Is there any kind of legends precedence for like numerous factions of witches? Like that's not something I'm super familiar with.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll look. Witches.
No, we don't have to get bogged down by it. But I like to see. This is now the second show in a row that we're getting that sort of magic side of things. That everything mystical in the universe doesn't have to just go strictly through, the Force, so to speak. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to just be as plain cut as like the Jedi have their powers and they fight for good or the good side of the balance. The Sith have their powers and they're on the negative side of the balance. Like I love how they're kind of throwing this new monkey wrench thing that we saw start in Clone Wars with the Night Sisters, but now we're getting a whole new sect of witches, if you will, for lack of a better term. So interested to see where they go with that.
Mind witches are another type of witch that use like Force illusions to like do something. So it does seem like there is another branch out there somewhere. So
okay. Cool.
Yeah. I don't know what they've been in because Wikipedia runs really bad on my computer. So I like quickly read it and closed it out because I was like, this thing makes my whole computer freeze with all their ads.
Ah,
But yeah, no. And then, Leslie Headland said about the underdog versus the institution. That's one of the things she was very interested in. That Star Wars is usually about the underdog versus the institution, and in the Acolyte, the Jedi are the institution. Um, you know, uh, and she says, I was so interested in a storyline where the Jedi are at the height of their power. And she clarifies, I do not mean Phantom Menace, because at that point, there's a Sith Lord in the Senate that they're not picking up on. I think that is a very good point, because people, when she would say that, people would be like, well, they were already at their peak in episode 1. It's like, but they weren't. They
no.
didn't even realize Palpatine was a thing, right? Like,
it essentially feels like they're, in terms of status, the exact same as where they are in this trailer, only with a century of ignorance and denial under their belt by the time we get to the Phantom Menace.
yeah, and I'm really, really interested about this because she talks about the um the other people, she like the other aliens, right? Like a half Thelian, half human Jedi. That's Jecki, played by Daphne Keane.
Yep.
And she fell in love with Thelians because of
Jabba's palace, right?
from Max Rebo in the special edition of Return of the Jedi. So they're also going to introduce a Zygarian Jedi, and they're also, they said, going to canonize a canonize a species that has not been seen yet. So I'm assuming it's like one that was in Legends that hasn't been canonized in the new canon on screen. So
Clutch
they're going to
Shield
also
stands,
do
we
that.
are winning.
Yes. So that is that's exciting. And then she went on about how she liked Vernestra Rowe. So that is something that I think is very interesting. I'm really curious to see how they're going to portray Vernestra. She also has this ability where she's able to have almost like a force vision when she's in hyperspace, and she gets like visions of things that are happening at the time or about to happen. So that is something that might play a role. I don't know how much we'll focus on Vernestra in this, or if she's just going to be like the equivalent of seeing Yoda in Phantom Menace, where you're like, oh, he's there, he had a few lines, like nice, but yeah.
Well, that's an interesting power to have. Like, could Yoda even do that? Like, actually see? Like, obviously he could feel things, like, that he felt when Order 66 started and all that stuff. But if she can like actually visualize events that are happening within the Force, like that seems like some OP shit. Like,
Yeah. I haven't seen how that ability has transgressed or continued, but like in one of the books I was just reading, like she had her first vision after a while. Like she had a vision when she was a Padawan, and then just kind of like tried
gotcha.
to like not ever learn how to use it. She thought it wasn't right. And then she had a vision, and then she got to the planet where the thing was happening, and it had already transpired.
Okay.
The event had, and like she saw the rest of the, she saw like in this vision, it was like people that were getting like arrested, not like arrested, but like the bad guys were capturing these people.
Okay.
Then when they get there, those people have been tortured and dead. So
Okay.
she's like, oh, like that I was too late, almost like that, so it seems to be almost like a vision of what's happening currently or like about to happen that she wasn't able to like prevent.
The
Like
flaw in the mechanics is the lack of control, basically.
right. And it's like the we had some Jedi be able to do it, right? Anakin had visions. There's an episode of Clone Wars where Ahsoka gets visions of Padme about to get assassinated and stuff.
Yep.
And Yoda seems to know about that stuff because he like talks with both of them about their visions.
Good
but we
pull. I
never see
totally
him
forgot
really
about
do it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but we never really see him do it.
Speaking of Yoda, one thing that I had highlighted that I wanted to talk about here as the very uh how would I put it? The very I guess kind of general audience Star Wars fan that I am, as opposed to like a super duper deep diver. Do you think we are going to see Yoda and or a super young Palpatine in this show?
Palpatine, I don't think is born at this point,
Okay.
so I don't think we'll see Palps. I would put decent money on seeing Yoda.
Okay.
He is on the council already at this point in the High Republic. Um, I mean, Yarel Poof is also on the council at that point. The guy with the really thin neck and tall
The
head.
little
You know,
kind of
he's on
head,
the
yeah.
yeah, he's on the council. He's referenced in the High Republic, and so is Yaddle. You could see if they have a scene in the council, I could see all three of them appearing. Um, Somebody saw Plo Koon's species. His species does live to 300 some years. It is possible it's Plo Koon.
Okay.
So
Oh, when they're
there
walking,
is
he's like the
possibility.
behind shot where he's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
like yeah, I saw that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's a possibility as Plo Koon, or it's just another Jedi that is the same species.
Hmm. What about Plagueis?
I really don't think she's actually a Sith. I don't think we see them at all. If I had to bet, she is working for the mother of the witches, and that is how she learned her dark force stuff.
Hmm.
That would be my guess.
Um, we do see that shot of the red lightsaber though. Like
Yeah, but I
I
mean,
don't
like
think.
Kylo Ren wasn't a Sith, and he had a red lightsaber. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
so I do think she can be having a lightsaber. Because I think if my speculation here is that she is a former Jedi that maybe fell into this coven of witches, and she bled her crystal to be red, and that is what she's. That would be my guess, and I think that's the easiest solution if they're going to worry about any of that stuff. Um, that would be my thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that was like that's why I guess if I had to put my money on it, that I feel like they wouldn't, because that feels a little safe and a little like, all right, don't worry, we're not going to touch anything that you think might mess anything up. We're just going to play it safe, and it's going to almost a bit feel a little bit retreadish of Balin and Shin in terms of these, or not Shin but Balin in terms of this like former Jedi who basically became disillusioned with the Order, and now he's got this gripe, and he's obviously, we saw what he did in Ahsoka. So to kind of go that route again with another like non Sith but still baddie, I feel like it would feel a little repetitive. I would definitely be open to see it, and obviously I would trust that they could do it and pull it off. But I feel like there's got to be more to it than that. Like to make a whole show around it. Like I don't know. Like the concept of, yeah, we're gonna make a show about this just rogue Jedi with no tie to the Sith, but they have a red saber and they're just gonna go around killing Jedi. I don't know what the draw is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, she does mention that, like in her thing, like the Star Wars.gov says Headland wanted to explore further back when seeing a Sith seemed as likely as encountering a Velociraptor. So I mean, maybe she will be full Sith. I don't know. Um, I think they won't want to do anything with Plagueis. I don't think you can win with that. I just don't think you can, like fans will be like, that's not my Plagueis. Oh, like that is oh, they didn't make him a mun. That's the alien species supposed to be. They made him a human. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. Like I feel like, could you imagine if she is Plagueis? Like that would cause so much shit. Like I can't see them wanting to touch that.
Yeah.
I think they'll leave that for like this is right before Plagueis type of thing. You
Mhm.
know, like to try to separate that a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm just, again, the casual fan in me is thinking like what's going to be the draw of this show that gets people talking, like what's that reveal going to be in episode 5 or 6 that sets the internet
But
on fire?
does that set the internet on, I mean, it sets the internet on fire, but does it set the casuals on fire? The casuals don't even have any clue who Plagueis is. you'd have to like you play in that scene from Revenge of the Sith where, oh, it's the guy Palpatine talks about. All right, great, but like they're not gonna recognize that as being like Palpatine's master or any type like
Fair.
any of that stuff.
I
So
think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think that it would be like, oh my god, and the whole fandom gasps in unison. But I don't think it would be as throwaway as you're making it out to be. That scene of Anakin and Palpatine talking at the theater and laying that whole thing out. That's like one of the more memorable scenes that people like still talk about today, even the kind of casual ones.
yeah, but I don't know if the name is like
Maybe
the
not.
part that is memorable. You
Well, I
know,
think they would go. They would. I guess they couldn't. I was gonna say they would find a way to make it more obvious who this was. But if Palpatine's not even born yet, they can't be like future master
yeah,
of unborn Palpatine. like,
like the opposite of previously on, like in the
Yeah,
future of Star Wars.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
they play that clip, and they're like, "All right, now to the episode of the
yeah,
Acolyte."
yeah, yeah.
You're like, that'll be relevant, I guess. Uh,
I
yeah, I
want.
don't know. I
Could you see that being so crazy? Like if they included that in a previously on, like just do you think that would be nuts? I don't think it would be nuts.
I think it'd be nuts. I don't think they'll do previously on all. I think they're just going to be like, they're going to treat this as its own thing. I think. This is the bonus and that's why like I would like them to stay away from Plagueis as well on my end of just like, this is your opportunity to just be like, here's Jedi in their prime. We got a cool story. You don't need to have watched or seen anything else. And like, I know people will be like, well, you don't have to know about Plagueis, but like, let's say they name drop that and there's like some sort of musical note that you're like, oh, I'm supposed to know who that is. I don't know who that is. And then like people go online and they're like, oh, that's who it is. I don't know who that is though.
Mhm.
All the other fans are very excited. I don't get it though. Was I supposed to have watched something? Was I supposed to have
Yeah.
read something? I think that's what they want to try to stay away from.
Mhm.
Because I think the best way to honor that type of stuff is the way Leslie Headland is doing it, which is, oh, I like this species. I'm going to make a Jedi that's that species.
Mhm.
Oh, I like this. I'm going to do something that's this.
Yeah.
Vernestra, they're not going to probably talk about like, remember when you were 100 years ago and you were training at 15 and became a Jedi. They're not going to mention that
Yeah.
stuff. Or if they do, it'll be in a way that like a brand new viewer would be like, oh, that's she's special. Okay.
Yeah. Remember
Yeah.
during your training, like kind of like little throwaway lines
Yes.
in conversation like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think that's the way that they'll do it. I wouldn't want to let this opportunity slip if I was them. I'd be like,
Mhm.
look, this is a way to launch a whole new era where we
Yeah.
can do movies, we can do shows. If
Yep.
this is a hit, we can do anything in this era
Mhm. Yeah.
without people feeling left out.
Yeah, the sandbox for this era is currently as big as it possibly can be, and every time you introduce a character that we already know, um, even if it's one that we haven't seen in the Disney iteration, if there's a character that Star Wars fans have a strong preconceived notion on what they are and what they should be, the second you bring them in, you make that sandbox a little bit smaller because there's just a little bit less stuff you can do because you have to remain faithful to that. So to your point, I do think that would be a good way to go. Just make this a new era. To your point, make this the new like the how we have the all of the trilogies like set up in these different time periods. Make
Yes.
this that. You know what I mean? And again, to your point, you can make these movies off of this. You can the world is your oyster with this time frame right now. So I do appreciate what you're talking about in terms of not muddying that and giving those fans the fodder to poke and prod more than they already have so far.
Yeah, because you can't please those fans. Those fans are gone.
Mhm.
So just do something for the I don't want to say do something for the casuals, but do something for everybody. Like this
Yeah.
is something that like if people hear good reviews about this, they'll be like, "Oh, great, I'll watch that." Like I
Mhm.
don't need to know anything beforehand. Great, I'll give it a watch. Um, I think when we start thinking about, oh, then they can reveal this thing or this thing, it's like that's for the hardcore fans that are not not really gonna they're not gonna really bother with that. You know, like the hardcore fans will be like, great, and it'll be trending on Twitter. But we know Twitter's not real life. So it'll be like, you know, did you do everything you could with it? And I think they've said before, you don't have to have watched or seen anything else before this. And I think, I know they said that with Ahsoka, and you know, Chris was able to understand most of that without seeing anything. But some people felt like it leaned too much on Rebels.
Yeah.
So I would say, hopefully, this is more of its own thing.
Yeah. Not everybody has a Ron and a Jordan who have watched Rebels like 3 times who can explain those little pieces when they pop up. Yeah.
Oh, and then this scene, I'd be remiss if we did not show this, you know, right before it's just like everybody igniting. They're ready to go fight.
That's my favorite Star Wars, baby. So that's a lot of Jedi. And the way that is cut makes it seem like it's the same scene where that one red lightsaber goes like buzzing through the cave. I feel like that's a little bit of like movie magic / manipulation, because I don't know if that, I mean, there's no way that's not a Sith if they rock in there and just lay waste to like, what's that, like 10 Jedi? Like, if one person goes in there with a red lightsaber and just cuts them all down, that's a Sith. Like, there's no way around it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that is, I do think it's edited to look a certain way.
Yep.
You know, they could be igniting these, and this is not what's going to happen, but I mean, like, they could be igniting these, and then they're like, oh, it's just a womp rat. Never mind, like, disactivate the lights. You know, like, you don't know what.
Well, they heard a sound. They do charge, like, so that womp rat must have said something nasty.
True. But you know, like, they could just. There's ways that they edit these things together that are purposely misleading.
For sure.
All right. Anything else?
I was just gonna ask you. Yeah, no, we hit all the notes that I have here. If you had anything else.
No, I think we're good. I mean, I say to everybody, give it a shot.
On this trailer, yeah, we don't have anything else. Never mind. Holy crap! I just looked up at the time.
Oh yeah,
we were recording this. I just totally got lost in the conversation, but I guess that's what makes a good conversation.
We had a good conversation. Yeah. I would say anybody just give it a shot if you're interested. Don't go like letting other people make up your mind for you. Watch the pilot, see if it's any good. It's a 2-episode premiere on June 4th, which is a Tuesday night, I guess, that they'll drop this.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like animation they let do it like the 3 a.m. and I was just going to say live action.
Confirm that, right? It's back to the 9 o'clocks like it was with Loki.
Yeah,
nice.
On June 4th, so we'll be breaking that down after the show premieres. This is one of my most anticipated projects, so I'm really looking forward to it. Seeing a whole different era. You get your little, like I said, you can do your little Yoda, Yaddle stuff, but for that's the hardcore stuff. It's like, oh look, it gets the casuals too. Oh, there's 2 Yodas in this scene, right? Yeah. They don't understand Yaddle. They're like, no, there's 2 Yodas.
There was one
girl Yoda, boy Yoda.
2 of them. Where's Baby Yoda?
Yeah, is that how they get Baby Yoda?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that I think will kind of get the casuals being like, oh, that's interesting, and they can latch on to whatever, and then hopefully the character work is so good they're like, oh, I love this new character here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, you can follow us at podawakens on all of our social medias, podawakens@gmail.com. Our chronological Clone Wars is continuing every Wednesday, so keep an eye out for that. And like I said, Road to the Acolyte, High Republic, talking the books and the comics, coming at you every Friday once I get a few of these recorded. Have a great rest of your week.
Oh,
and
sir,
we'll catch you next time.
Sir, how could you forget? How could you forget our 25th
oh, that's right.
Phantom Menace discussion coming up? What is wrong with you? I should slice your head off.
My plan is to drop that on May 4th. I think that'd be really cool if we drop that on May 4th. And it's also when the movie is in theaters. I got my tickets for May 5th. I'm really excited for it.
Me too. Give me that collectible popcorn bucket. Give me 15 of them.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I'm so happy that this movie is going to be in theaters. I hadn't seen it in theaters, so it'll be just A New Hope is all I need to see now for it to be all of them in theaters.
Nice.
All right, yeah. So that is coming May 4th. So keep an eye on that. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you next time.